So the LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith story was just a crazy situation. A lot of drama, a lot of just back and forth. He said this, he said that. And I've come to the conclusion that LeBron James destroyed Stephen A. Smith, made him look really bad, in my opinion. And the reason why I stand by that, and we'll go into the clip of what LeBron had to say, especially about that Giannis situation, because what gets left out during that interview is the minute before he said Giannis would score 250 points. And that's what ESPN did not play for obviously reasons where they want to draw ratings and attention, but they create a situation where they were gaslighting the entire conversation of what LeBron James was saying about the 1970s. And they left out parts where fans would think, oh, LeBron James is disrespecting the previous era. And then you have Stephen A. Smith saying that I dislike LeBron James as a person, that if LeBron James had tried to swing on me, which was dumb because why would LeBron James want to start a fight with you? He's a professional. He was just addressing you about Bronny James. Now, to Stephen A. Smith's point, LeBron James did say in the past that I would play for any franchise who's going to draft my son. I'll even take a pay cut. I wouldn't even take any money just to play with him. That was one of his goals. He's also said that Bronny James is better than half the league in a tweet before he even stepped on the NBA basketball court. So those are things that LeBron should be held accountable for and criticized. So that's fair to say. However, at the same time, the old media is just ridiculous to me. This entire season, you've seen a lot of complaints about teams are taking too many three-point shots. The game is boring, yada, yada, yada. And they're not taking enough time out of their day to cover teams like the Houston Rockets, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the rise of Cade Cunningham. There's been a lot of really fascinating stories in the NBA, but they're not being talked about enough. We're seeing a lot of narrative-driven stories. Let's talk about one of them with Joel Embiid. And I want to show you this because at the end of the day, you got to be objective when it comes to these things. And at this time, Embiid obviously he's had his health situations. And there was a columnist named Marcus Hayes, and they had an altercation. And in this story here, obviously Embiid approached him because he was mad about mentioning his dead brother in his column. And obviously he took it out. He apologized. That's how you knew Marcus Hayes was wrong. But I find this very interesting here of what Embiid had to say. And he said that he often says that he wants to be great, to leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother. Well, in order to be great at your job, you first have to show up for work. That was inappropriate. It's not like Embiid's not having any type of accomplishments. He won MVP 2 years ago. So I'm sure his brother would be proud of what he's doing. He's playing in the NBA, for goodness sake. He's been recognized in the past as a top 5 player. I don't think he was ever a top 5 player, in my opinion. Definitely a top 10 player, just because of all the lack of accomplishments in the playoffs. That's why I have him top 10, not top 5. Obviously, as a talent, he's top 5. But Embiid said this: you can say I suck. You can say whatever you want about me as a player. Don't ever put my dead brother's name in your mouth. And this is the part about the old media where they are using these players and criticize them to a point where it's no longer about basketball. And that's where I have a problem. Because at the end of the day, yes, you could be mad about players disrespecting the old era, but let's not act like that didn't happen before, where the 80s were disrespecting the 90s, that the 70s were disrespecting the 80s. This has been a constant conversation. Unfortunately, when it comes to dialogue among fans, this is an ongoing thing. Rather than just talking about the game itself, taking a step back and looking at what's happened. I was looking at Larry Bird a few weeks ago and his performances in the playoffs. There were multiple games he shot under 40%. And Larry Bird is recognized as a top 10 player. That's not a slight at Larry Bird. It's just a reality of NBA players, superstars, not always showing up consistently when their name is called. Those are just facts. Now, let's talk about what LeBron James said on the Pat McAfee show about the Giannis situation. Because, again, if you didn't watch the entire interview, because I know some of us did not watch it and didn't really think and comprehend about what LeBron was trying to say, because the 250 points, he was being hyperbolic. He wasn't being serious. He was just trying to make a point about, we have guys today who could play in the 70s. Like Giannis, of course, could dominate in the 70s. Do we forget that Wilt Chamberlain in the 60s scored 100 points in a game? So, again, I know 250 points is outlandish, but Giannis would have dominated in that era. But let's see what LeBron had to say here.
We just have to recognize that evolution is just a part of life, man. Like, you look at the Hummer from the 1970s to the Hummer of today. It's like, you're going to be like, okay, you might be nostalgic about it. You loved it in the 70s, but do you really want to drive that every day right now in 2025, you're going to get out.
So I stopped there. Obviously, cars in the past, comparing like let's say like a Hummer, he said, to 1970s to today. Are you going to keep driving that one in the 70s? No, because upgrades are made, features are better, and you want to make sure you're up to speed with everything. The NBA in the 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000s didn't have the spacing that they're experiencing today with the big man being able to stretch the floor. Guys can't just roam around the paint. They have that, defensive 3 seconds where they didn't have that back in the day. So the rules have changed. 3-point shooting is part of the NBA. It doesn't mean the game is worse than it was before. There's a number of factors going on. Yes, I understand that fans are losing interest, and there's a number of factors. People say load management. I get that argument, but we don't talk enough about how Anthony Edwards plays a lot of games, that Jason Tatum doesn't skip games, that SGA doesn't skip games, Nikola Jokic. These top players are trying to give it their all night in and night out, but those conversations are not happening. We continue to grasp at straws rather than looking at what's in front of our faces today, because that's what generates ratings.
Out the car and your neck and your back is going to be hurting so bad. Like, seriously, you're going to be hurting so bad. You're going to be like, okay, you know what? This might be just a Sunday chill car. Like, I drive it up the street, get some ice cream, come back home, but I
refill it because it gets 2 miles.
Yeah, exactly. I got to just start it up, let it just crank the gas for about 2 hours just to make sure it's still running. But like we have to understand that there's players and eras and things of that nature. Like, we get it, but like, you watch some of the NFL games as well from the 70s and the 80s, and you got like, Jack Lambert and those guys coming through, like completely decapitating people, murder. Ronnie Lott tore his pinky off and then went to the sideline. Was like, just tear the rest of it off. I'm getting back out there. Like I get it. Like, those are nostalgic moments, but like the game.
So let's stop here for a moment. I want to talk about marketing in the NBA. One of the things that I'm noticing between the NFL and the NBA is that the NFL markets their superstars really well, despite what city they play in. Patrick Mahomes plays in Kansas City. Is that a big market? No, it's not. Lamar Jackson plays in Baltimore. Is that a big market? No, it's not. You don't see the NFL constantly talking about Los Angeles teams day in and day out. Yes, they talk about the Cowboys, but you also see the NFL marketing guys like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, another example. He's in Cincinnati. He gets a ton of attention. A guy like Josh Allen, he's in New York. Now, that's a big market. However, at the end of the day, the NFL does a really good job of marketing their superstar talent. When it comes to the NBA, you know what they missed out in the Christmas games? They didn't get the Cleveland Cavaliers. They didn't showcase them. They didn't showcase SGA. When he was putting up amazing numbers last year, but he didn't get a Christmas slot, like, that's insane to me. He should have played against the Lakers or played against Steph Curry. You can have two of both worlds. We have old school versus no school versus new school. But the NBA did not do that. Yes, I'm glad they played Victor Wembanyama and you want to push him. But at the end of the day, you missed a golden opportunity where you have teams like the Cavs and Thunder who are really fun to watch. If you have not watched a Thunder game this year, you are missing out on really good defense because OKC locks people up.
Game is different, and we should respect all eras in that era. We can't be saying, okay, just because Wilt was great in the 60s and 70s that he'll be great now. And we also can't say that some of the guys now will be great. It is.
Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me LeBron James was giving credit to the old era, that he was actually showing respect here? But we want to paint this picture that LeBron James was completely dismissing the old era. You just saw in the clip here. But that's what the media does to you guys. You see a small clip for 30 seconds. You don't look at the entire context. That's a problem. So that's why you have to look at this objectively and not react with your emotions all the time. That's what they want to do in the media. It's not just sports, it's mainstream media in general. They play a small clip, you react to it without getting the entire context, and you get the story messed up.
Every single day that he's better, he's not better. He wouldn't. You trying to tell me Giannis wouldn't be able to play an NBA game in the 70s?
Handshake. He wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, neither would you. Neither would you.
Giannis Antetokounmpo would have 250 points in a game.
Obviously, LeBron James is being hyperbolic there. But people reacted to that clip because they didn't play the entire context. See, First Take just pointed out that clip and didn't talk about the whole story. So we have to take a step back and look at it from an objective perspective. Now, Kobe Bryant, as you see behind here, is my favorite basketball player ever. He's amazing. I'm a Celtics fan. I love Kevin Durant as well. I'm a big believer in wings and guards. Those are my preferences. Obviously, everyone is going to have a bias. Victor Wembanyama, I think, is going to be the best international player we'll ever see in the NBA for a long time. Those are just my opinions and my expectations going forward about Wemby. The reason why I'm saying all that, because when I look at a guy like LeBron James, yes, I understand he's got questionable things he's done in the past with the decision on live TV. I did not agree with that. I also didn't, like the fact of how he guaranteed championships in Miami. But again, he's still the second best player to me ever. Why do I say that? Because people like to make the argument of Kobe. But when you look at it from just a basketball perspective, LeBron James can play each position 1 through 5. Kobe cannot do that. LeBron James is a better playmaker. LeBron James shot better from the field in his career than Kobe Bryant. These are just facts. You can look this up yourself. It does not negate what Kobe has accomplished. Now, let's talk about Stephen A. Smith. He talked about how he doesn't like LeBron James. He talked about how people are going to forget about LeBron James when he retires, which I think is insane to me because LeBron James has way more influence than Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith didn't like the fact he got challenged. It's really that simple. He also talked about in his show that, I wanted to go on the shop, but I wanted to do things on my terms. How can you make demands when it's not even your own show to begin with? That's just insane to me. So again, I just think when it comes to Stephen A. Smith, he spent over an hour, probably multiple episodes talking about LeBron James. LeBron spent a minute and 40. Let me look at it. It was a minute. I have the notes right here. Let me find it. A minute and 46 seconds talking about Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. responded with a much longer segment. That just tells you both sides of the story. I'm not saying LeBron James is absolved from his actions when it comes to Bronny James. But what LeBron was saying to Stephen A. Smith, he felt you were questioning him as a father. Not saying that was your intention. That's what appeared to him. So, again, I understand this has been a controversial segment, and some people are going to disagree with me. And I just want to say for the record, LeBron James is the second best. Michael Jordan is the best ever. I just try to look at it from an objective perspective. And yes, I'm going to have my biases just like everybody else out there. But when it comes to basketball conversations, this is where the old media is missing the mark because they want to, get you in a position where it's like, oh, this player is blah, 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 disrespecting my era when they're just gaslighting you. Those are just facts. I mean, even Stephen A. Smith in the past, we don't talk about, his situation with Kyrie Irving, how his dad had to tell him, hey, why don't you work it out with Kyrie? Because of all the things he said in the media about how Kyrie didn't want to take the vaccine. He just slammed him day in and day out. It's not basketball related. Why are we talking about this? Calling him selfish. And then the situation with the retweet, he never criticized Amazon, but he was constantly on Kyrie's neck. But then Kyrie goes to Dallas and leads him to the NBA Finals. All of a sudden, he's changing his tone. That's ridiculous to me. And then you look at the situation with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo, did a short clip, said to Stephen A. Smith, I'm coming back and check your sources. Stephen A. Smith went on a long rant, I should say. He went on a long rant about how he can get his doctor's receipts. I'm like, dude, it's not that deep because people are questioning your sources. They're allowed to do that as players. So I just think it's just a situation where the old media got exposed. I know he also took a shot at Brian Windhorst saying he's not my best friend. And he's not lying. Now, I didn't think he needed to say that because Brian Windhorst has always spoke positive about LeBron James. However, Brian Windhorst also did say, if you did watch the interview with Pat McAfee, that LeBron James only signed with Nike because of Michael Jordan, which wasn't true at all. That's what LeBron said. That's his words versus Brian Windhorst's words. So, again, it's just a situation where I think LeBron James just made Stephen A. Smith look really bad in this situation. And again, we just have to remember that the mainstream media doesn't have a lot of credibility. They shouldn't be trusted. And the players are pushing back. And I love it because it gives us a fair dialogue, especially when you have other situations with Marcus Hayes, where he criticized Joel Embiid and said, you know what? You're not playing, you're not making your family proud. That's disgusting. Make it about basketball and keep it there. When you go beyond those boundaries, that's where you're going to get a lot of pushback. And that's where I think LeBron James is right. And yes, I understand the arguments about Bronny James and nepotism. Totally agree. But in this situation, Stephen A. Smith taking his personal shots, he even went on First Take and said LeBron was not at the funeral of Kobe Bryant. And then he said I was wrong about that. Come on, dude. That's nasty work and disgusting to watch. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me because when you see the way the media is treating the NBA, I don't understand why. Because if you want people to buy into your product and maybe not always be negative about it, especially when we're trying to transition from LeBron, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant, guys like SGA, Victor Wembanyama, Luka Doncic, and Nikola Jokic, and so forth. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this altercation between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James. Do you think LeBron won in the end? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.